reveal for the all-new Mercedes GLB, and we have it for you as the combustion engine version and also as the all-electric one. We are showing you the differences, all the technical figures and so on you need to know, and also design-wise, progressive versus AMG line, everything you need to know. How good is it in exterior, interior and tech with Thomas Nautical in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go, starting with the combustion engine version as the AMG line. AMG line here has the sportier accentuation in the lower part, black contrast, and then the combustion engine model. You can see the grille goes through, opening for the cooling of the engine, and here these tiny Mercedes chrome stars, so to speak. The light unit is always above that. With the light strip it goes all the way through here, and then option you can also get the multi-beam LED. These are the matrix LED, and we tested them in the Mercedes CLA at night already, and pretty good performance also in leaving out upcoming cars and so on. This one here in the silver, but also maybe the clear blue, a strong Thomas blue color here. This is then the electric version, but of course you can also get the blue color for the combustion and so on. You can see the electric version has the closed front grille and then illuminated stars in the middle part, and the same light unit above that. And the progressive line, you can also get AMG for the electric one or progressive for the combustion and so on, so you can mix it. Here progressive line has some more chrome accentuations in the lower part, so a little bit less black, so to speak. And then I'll soon show the differences under the hood, where we have a frunk or then the engine under the hood. First of all, here to the side profile, we have a length of 4.73 meters or 186 inches. That's 1 centimeter longer than the Mercedes CLA, same platform. Then 18 to 20 inch wheels. These are the biggest. You can have different stylings for that. This is like a really massive styling. I mean, this is aerodynamic, but at the same time it looks really fancy, doesn't it? Here in the progressive or in the base version, also here the normal wheel arches, plastic style, that will be painted in the AMG line, soon to the difference. And then the typical upright GLB style, because you're already in the length of a Mercedes GLC, but since this is the front wheel based architecture, or well, as the electric one, it's rear wheel drive or all-wheel drive, but in the combustion engine, it's front wheel drive or all-wheel drive. That's interesting. But here you have just more space on the interior in comparison to the GLC, although they are more or less same length. So yeah, the GLB always accounted for this baby GLS, so to speak. In the rear, completely new design with light spin that goes here vertically, then all the way around and back again. Tiny Mercedes stars here also in the rear signature, that looks funny. And the base model without the multi-beam option would have a gap here in the middle part. I told them maybe that was more expensive to make two different versions of that. Why not give it to everyone? But here, when you have the multi-beam LED, the light strip goes all the way through. GLB 250 Plus, this is the best range version so far. So starting with the electric facts, you will have either, like in the CLA, 58 kilowatt hours or 85 kilowatt hours battery. For the GLB, probably most will go for the bigger battery. And then you have this rear-wheel drive version, the GLB 250 Plus. Acceleration figure here for this rear-wheel drive model is 7.4 seconds. There's also the all-wheel drive version, the 350. That one at 5.5 seconds in the acceleration figure. That's, by the way, 0.6 seconds slower than the comparable engine version from the CLA. So this again, electric version, rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, one electric motor per axle. Charging, by the way, for the big battery, the charging port is right here. 22 minutes, 10 to 80% state of charge. And then here AC 11 or optional 20 kilowatt AC. And very important, you can also get the 400 volt charging option. It's an 800 volt architecture. And yeah, I recommend you to pick that option that you can charge at any station. 20 minutes, 10 to 80% state of charge for the small battery, by the way. And the charging peaks are 320 kilowatt for the big battery and 200 kilowatt for the small battery.
And what about the range? The official EU driving cycle, the WLTP, says 631 kilometers or 325 miles. However, it's not that realistic if we consider what the CLA is consuming, that the GLB with 0.28 has a worse CD value. Then we might expect some 400 kilometers or 250 miles with a big battery at a reasonable constant motorway speed.
And then we move over to the combustion engine model. This one here is a GLB 220 with AMG Line. The 220, I expect acceleration figure below 8 seconds to 100 kilometers an hour. This one is the top horsepower spec, 211 horsepower. Also, we expect the same horsepower specs like we had for the CLA. And then here again, it is front plus rear on demand when you have all-wheel drive or a base front-wheel drive version. The AMG line, you can see, once again here, more black accentuations in the lower part. So this looks a little bit stronger. But the design difference is in the rear more about between progressive and the AMG line. In the front, of course, you have the difference with the different front grille. In the side profile, once again, you see this very upright styling here because it will also be offered as 7-seater. So 5-seater or 7-seater. And we have a deep dive into the 7-seater option for you later on as well. This one here, the AMG line, also here, black mirror caps. Lower part also black. This is actually also an AMG Line Plus, which has a very specific 20-inch wheel. Look at that here in this spider style, so to speak. Very massive. Yeah, what do you think about that? And now comes a very special thing as for the comfort. We know the base suspension is very good from the CLA. The base steel suspension works very well in the CLA, so I expect it would also work well here. The adaptive suspension is exclusively available for the GLB, not for the CLA, and only if you go for 20-inch wheels. Because they said, when you go for 20-inch wheels, you have less dampening from the tire, and then we want to offer like the same comfort for the customers. But they do not make it optional if you go for 18 or 19-inch wheels, which is, I think, a little bit strange decision. Yeah, tell me what you think about that. But so we can then at least count that these two vehicles here, since they have the 20-inch wheels, both have the adaptive suspension. Of course, now extensive interior part is coming up, also with the different lines, progressive and AMG. But tell me already in the comments, are you more the EV fan or are you more the combustion engine type fan? Of course, before we go to the interior, we need to talk about this combustion engine, which we have under the hood right here. Told you already that we have the 211 horsepower spec here. Lower horsepower specs will also be available twice. There we go. This is here a 1.5 liter 4-cylinder engine, mild hybrid. So you will also have some electric moments, so to speak, like when rolling or something like that. This will be quite a good thing to save some fuel. In a couple of days we will also drive the CLA mild hybrid. Then you can also check out that review. And yeah, you can see what we have here with the combustion engine, and we will have then here the frunk under the hood. This will be a nice comparison, definitely. There we go. Also pulling it twice. And then this is actually quite a surprise because it's a super spacious frunk. Look at that. Also with some, felt cover at the bottom part. Oh, it's nice, like echo, echo, echo. Yeah, interesting, because here you can see we don't have the engine. That's why there's no like cover. But there's a huge frunk. We also have a shot from the indoor vehicle, which is a 7-seater, that you can put even ski equipment here in the front. This also looks quite fancy. And here you can see there's like a proper insulation then for the combustion engine under the hood. Yeah, I just want to test that. Indeed, this frunk does house a cabin trolley. That's quite a thing, right? Welcome to the new cockpit of the Mercedes GLB. Of course, it shares the cockpit with the Mercedes CLA. That means central screen, instruments, and here you have the passenger screen. It's an option, otherwise you have an area which is black, but with some Mercedes stars then on that one. Then this turbine vent style for the air vents, really large, also illuminated with ambient lighting. Glove box is really tiny, gotta say that, but has a nice closing sound. This one here is the artificial leather, the Artico. And both progressive seats, as you see here, and sport seats, which you see soon, are same here from the middle area. The bolstering is what is the main difference, and the head restraint, which is separate here. This one can you forward and backward, and also the classic higher and lower thing. In the sport seat is more like integrated, but soon more to the differences. A base seat would be fabric on the inside, by the way, and then leatherette on the outside. The sport seat soon with microfiber also available. And then there's optional animal skin. And here with 1A9 602, some headroom left, fixed glass roof, always standard. And then this one, as a progressive line, has here the standard steering wheel, but return of the real jogs. Mercedes calls it rocker and roller, so rock and roll, left side for the cruise control, right side for the volume. Steering wheel up and down, in and out, really wide, you know how we can adjust that. The AMG line steering wheel is different, soon going to show that to you. This one here, the bright steering wheel, is not a must, but you can go for it. And what I immediately feel is, I would wish at Mercedes in general more seating depth at the sit bone area, but in comparison to the Mercedes CLA, you sit more comfortably here because it is more upright. You have more space for your feet, and that's why in the CLA you rather would sit like this, and here you sit then more upright, and that's why it's also less pressure on the sit bone, and that's why the GLB is indeed more comfortable than the CLA. And it's a typical thing with SUVs. We have it also with other manufacturers where you have the same model on the same platform as an SUV and as a sedan. Very interesting, definitely, isn't it? And then here, the middle console, different decor elements are available. This is more like this aluminum style, so to speak. Then here we have inductive charging pad. It's also ventilated a little bit. You can see it right here underneath this rubber cover, for example. Then they also have this hole here. Then you can pull a cable down to the lower area and charge with USB-C in the lower part, 2 USB-C chargers. You can have 100 watt on one side. The overall power is 120 watts. So you either charge with 100 watt on one side or with 60 watts on each. So that's the logic behind that. Cup holders here are adaptive, like this, but they don't hold all buttons tight enough. And then here, split armrest. This should be a little bit softer for your elbow, and then you have more space underneath. So also the middle console is shared with the Mercedes CLA actually. These air vents here, by the way, you can also move them here manually. They also have a nice clicking sound. Zoom to the infotainment system. What I can show you here already is that you here control the climate unit here when you don't want to do it with voice, and also here the seat heating and the steering wheel heating is always in the second level, and to me that's sometimes a little bit complicated, honestly, but very clean. And then this layout here all the way flat, and if you want the passenger screen or not, that's up to you. Putting in the gears, by the way, is here you start the engine or the EV right here. This is start stop, and then you put in D or reverse for reverse gear. And here, by the way, the rear view camera, 360-degree view you have available here. Looks pretty crisp, although it's against the sun. And then when you press this button again, then you shut down the vehicle. Now to the AMG line interior. And by the way, if you have not subscribed so far, please do so to not miss any of our new reviews. And of course, if you go like for a thumbs up and leave us a comment, always helps the algorithm to support us a little bit. It's all for free. And now here, open the vehicle, then the door handles come towards us or go away again, depending on if it's open or closed. You can also have this automatic approaching to the vehicle, and then they come towards you, and then they're actually physical. Yeah, as you know, I've told the story many times before. The Chinese market demanded these door handles, then everyone was going for it. Now the Chinese market will disallow these door handles because they prove to be not so safe. The German manufacturers say that their door handles always pop out in the emergency case, and this one is also still manual. That means even if it's like sealed, you could still manually open it. So then inside of the doors, here we have a nice high-grade leather red, also somewhat soft touch, and then even softer here with the white surface. This is a special color trim. You don't have to go for it. You could also have everything in dark. Here the seat controls, they move, by the way, so they brought that back again, but then again you don't have the seat heating button. Heated steering wheel was kind of connected with that, but I like to have the button for the heated seats here, which was kind of common for Mercedes models. And then here, the big decision, like in the CLA, 2 window levers. I think a Mercedes should have 4, but some say when you here press rear and then control them, it's easier to control because they then don't miscontrol them, so to speak, because you always know, I'm with the front windows first, you know what I mean? And then the hardback here for the front inside door pockets. Then we have a Mercedes entry badge. This is then here the AMG line with a different steering wheel. So you have a two-spoke design right here. That looks definitely sportier than the other one, and you also have perforation at the side. Animal-free steering wheel material is to come at a later stage, by the way. This one here, however, the seat here is animal-free, and probably design was my favorite one because here you have the micro-cut, microfiber, and some leatherette at the outside. And once again, the inside supposed to be pretty much the same as the product managers told us, but the side bolsters are tighter here with the sport seats. And you can also adjust the head restraint a little bit, forward and backwards. Like here, so that is actually possible. Yeah, but that's definitely the most cool looking seat, so to speak. And let's get inside here, and then let's see. So the comfort is indeed, I would say they need more seating depth, and then the sport is tighter. So Leah prefers it when she has more support here. I would prefer the more open seat, but yet again, this one is available with microfiber, and it feels the most premium in this vehicle, I would say. So that speaks for it. And once again, that you sit more upright in the GLB really helps with the comfort in comparison to the CLA. Here you can once again see the different AMG Line interior, and it's a little bit darker, but you know, a little bit cooler styling, so to speak. This one also has the sky control, so you have the illuminated stars in the panoramic roof, and then you can also change how this digital shade appears. Again, it does not change anything how much sun goes through as for the heat, but it's a little bit visual, it's a little bit to play around with, clear or completely closed, and it works really quickly. Yeah, why not? It's not a necessary feature, it's optional feature, as I said. So tell me if you would go here for the AMG line or for the progressive line or for like a more brighter atmosphere. Here also once again the Burmester sound system, which is pretty cool, by the way, nice option. It is the best for acoustic music and for voices, singing. As for like electronic music, club, pop music, the thing is that the focus of the Burmester sound system is like this very authentic, crystal clear thing, you know. So some other sound systems maybe are not as true to the original, but maybe enhance it a little bit. But what I would actually do, I found it out and tested around a little bit, if you go to the settings and then here, go to the intense mode. If you're listening to pop or electronic music, then it's a little more wholesome, whereas the pure setting is more for classic music, acoustic music, guitar and voices. And the driver POV, once again here with the physical controls like that. Digital instruments look like this. And the thing is, oh, by the way, here it shows the RPM meter and also with the current RPM. And here, this is then still physical here, and then you can switch through the modes. You also have the car internal GPS right here, but you can also have Waze or Apple Maps or the Google Maps in the Android Auto then in there, in the instruments here. It's like a header display unit, then the main infotainment unit. Yeah, you can see here once again, like in the CLA, it is cut off a little bit. So when I have the steering wheel all the way out, my visibility is kind of like blocked by the steering wheel here, that I cannot see this area that well. And here, there's like not a final symbol here for the steering wheel heating, and then the seat heating like this is always in 2 levels, because when you are in the main menu like this, then you always have to go there first and then activate it. To me, too complicated. Also with the climate unit doing that while driving. So yeah, probably I will then get rather a user to leave it 22 degrees or 72 degrees Fahrenheit.
Oh, but that's a nice color theme here.
Nice color theme,
Wow.
right? Leah likes that.
Yes.
Also in her winter look here today.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all freezing. Now it's minus 5.5. It will probably get to minus 12
Yes.
Celsius. Yeah, that's really cold. And you have different color schemes here as well, like here, and then you can go to either ambient styles, so the whole style that changes everything directly, or you can also go to these individual modes with the ambient lighting, and then Leah can, for example, pick Venice Pink. And then also here, there again, for the vents and so on. So that's pretty neat, right? Then this is new. I mean, it was here before, this one, to turn off the EU speed chime law thing, but then you can also quickly turn off the attention assist. That is new. Very interesting what to think about that. The only downside is that for the acoustic warning, you then have like a 2-level step. And now to the rear seats. Here inside of the doors is also soft touch here in the top part. Then here once again the bright accentuation, if you like that. Hard pack at the inside. Isofix outside. This is here the 5-seater, soon more to the 7-seater, but already for the 5-seater you can get also the sliding bench option, and you can also adjust the angle of the seat right here. Then with 189, 6'2", there's still headroom left here. Fixed glass roof is standard. Optionally you can get then also this digital shade together with the star pattern on the inside. And then when it's all the way back here, this is what I have in legroom to my driving position as a tall adult, so that's fine. And the floor here is the same for the EV and for the combustion engine version. In the CLA there is a difference where the combustion engine version has more like foot garages basically, but here is all the way flat, 2 USB-C chargers. And yeah, you also have this upright seating position here in the rear, so that's actually a good thing. That's why also the usage of space is actually quite good, and it's also more comfortable than, for example, in the CLA we have the sedan styling and so on, and you sit relatively high here. You can see that. That might be good for children in the rear because then they're not like lost, and also when you install a child seat it's easier. As a tall adult you sit way higher than the front passenger. You see what I mean? That's maybe a funny thing, you know. So yeah, that you can estimate how much space do you have here. Now to the trunk or the boot, which is at 408 liters for the 5-seater. By the way, up to 2 tons of towing. And you can also have a drawbar where you can also put electric bikes on it. That would also be the alternative. So here, this cover here barely fits underneath it. So this cover is pretty low, I'm gonna say that. So maybe we remove it here also for a second. There we go. And then you can see here the standard width is about 1 meter or 40 inches. Standard length here is some 95 centimeters, 37 inches. Underneath for the 5-seater you still have more space. So that's why you have more liters of space here for the 5-seater, soon in comparison to the 7-seater. And the height here is almost 29 inches or 73 centimeters, so well usable. This is cut out very well. And also the cutout for the side entry to the 2nd row and also the 3rd row is also cut out in a more massive way. You can easier access the vehicle. And here the total length is about 71 inches or 1 meters and 80. Definitely a very well usable vehicle. And now quickly also to the 7-seater version. The slidable bench here is standard for the 7-seater version, is an option for the 5-seater, and if you have the standard 5-seater, no slidable bench, then you have 1 centimeter more legroom here in the rear. So it's not a huge difference. It's about this rail then, you know. So if you get the slidable things, 1 centimeter less legroom, I think you can live with that. And then here you can see it's still fine with the legroom. It's all the way back. What I'm doing now is here I slide forward with this one that I could theoretically still sit here. And now we're gonna move this one. I mean, here of course the inclination like this, but to move it forward really, I put it here, there on the top part. And what they improved is here not only this cutout that it's easier to get in both 2nd and 3rd row, but also here this sliding function that it is, you know, easier to get in right here. Still, you know, somewhat tight, but I think we can manage. Now let's get inside. So AJ recently was managing that, but now me with my longer legs, I do struggle here. So if I'm sitting in the front seat and then try to get in here, it's not really possible. So this is not tall adult proof. Headroom, I mean, I have to shrink here a little bit, but this is really more for the kids. And here you also have Isofix and at the 3rd seating row. And also here these head restraints. This is like a US regulation that they go all the way through. There's no gap right here. There's like some crash safety regulation thing. So yeah, as I said, nothing for adults here, but this is more like for like kids, soccer practice and so on. And then you can use the Isofix here, 1, 2, 3, 4 And silver vehicle here, this is our 7-seater. You remember, is 540 liters for the 5-seater, 480 liters for the 7-seater, and this still works here with the cabin trolley like this in the rear. So yeah, it's interesting even when the 3rd seating row is up, and then you lose liters in height. It's like the length and the width is the same. Then you can here pull this strap, put them down. You have to put these one a little bit forward, like this, and then you can push them. I mean, you can leave it like this for cargo position, or put them back again for most legroom. Then here you can see the difference, but then you cannot pull them up here again because they're kind of like locked there. So you have to push them forward again. And here underneath, yeah, some space, but this is where you can see you do lose the height, and that's where also the little bit less of the liter figure. So tell me in the comments, would you go for the 5-seater or for the 7-seater? Pricing starts at 59,000 euros for the electric version, and if you go full spec, 20-inch wheels, everything is on, you can get closer to about 80,000 euros even for a GLB. The combustion engine model will be some 4,000 to 8,000 euros less than that if we compare it also to the CLA prices. So the thing will be, in some markets, the combustion engine model will be less expensive, especially as for the list price. But then in other markets where maybe the list price for this one might even be higher, taxation comes into play, you know, and some have like these extreme taxations on combustion engine models. So depending on the country, it can be that the electric version is the cheaper one. So which one will be more successful really depends on the individual taxation of the country. For example, in Germany, we have like also taxation benefits, even if the list price will be higher for the EV, the monthly price, if we take, at least if we take it as a company vehicle, it could be a lower monthly fee. Whereas for private use, maybe the petrol engine then makes more sense. So interesting that they offer it in both versions, definitely. And I think design-wise, since it's more upright, this design with the split headlamps in the grille, I didn't like it so much with the CLA, honestly. But here I think in the GLB it works better. So a fresh modern look for the GLB. At the same time, they kept the core values with the very upright building style, being once again a baby GLS. On the interior, some improvements that you can easily access 2nd and 3rd seating row, so you have more space overall on the whole interior. That works well too. What has to be improved, I think, that you have a little more, like in the CLA, I said, a little bit more seating depth. However, I do see a big advantage for the GLB in comparison to the CLA. If you think about, hey, sedan versus SUV, yes, especially in the electric version, this one stands more against the wind. 0.28 is the CD value. Not the ideal CD value among the recently published EV SUVs. With the combustion engine, it won't play such a role then, however. But definitely, you sit better than in the CLA because you have this uprighter seating position, and that also gets less stress on the sit bone. And that's why, although you have the same seats like in the CLA, you have more comfort here sitting more upright in the GLB. So it's overall a very practical family car. And as I said, GLC, yes, does offer you a very more luxurious ride, but it has less space on the interior than the GLB. Very interesting insights here for you today. Which one would you go for? EV or combustion engine, AMG line or the progressive? Tell me in the comments. And now also compare the platform brother, the Mercedes CLA, or do you want some more luxury with the GLC?